Welcome to Superhuman Customs. I'm Steven Human. This is the channel where we customize action figures, just have fun. Sometimes they turn out great, sometimes they don't turn out great, but we don't care because we're here to have fun and to have some cool toys for our shelves. So today, the last couple weeks we did Darkseid, we did Aquaman and the Flash. Today we're doing another double set. We're gonna do Batman and Superman. The reason we're doing them together is because basically the techniques are gonna be the same. We're gonna cover up the crazy video game things. We're gonna add some three-dimensional symbols to them. We're gonna make these guys just a little bit different, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then at that point, we're gonna have a really fun comic book Justice League, because I'm gonna add my Wonder Woman to it, a couple of other characters, and I'll show you what it all looks like at the end. So let's get in and let's make these guys cooler than they are. First thing we need to do with Batman and Superman is get their symbols in place. As you can see, they're both gonna be three-dimensional symbols. Batman is getting one that I think is going to look really cool. It's got like a layer on it already, so I can make it so that it's yellow, so the edge of it is yellow. I like that idea, the yellow on the outside. The Superman is getting this symbol, which we used, which has been cut in half. And that one's going to require a little bit more playing around. Let me see if I can get it over here. There we go. So I'm going to put this here. Make sure that it lines up, press it down, there we go. And then we'll put the second one on. Obviously we got to do something about the cut here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to experiment. I'm not quite sure what's going to work and what's not going to work, but I've had success in the past with fabric paint and with filling in cracks like this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with that and see how it ends up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and then I'm going to wipe with my fingers and see if it fills it in. And then we will go from there. And maybe it'll work, and maybe it'll just be a disaster. Who can tell? All right, it's hard to tell what's going to work and what's going to not work in a situation like this. And so you kind of got to try it and then go over it and be like, oh, it didn't work, or it did work. You know, and getting rid of a cut like this is going to be almost impossible, but we can make it so that it's just less noticeable. And that's all I'm trying to do, is make it less noticeable. So yellow goes on really thinly, and so I can take it and I can actually fill in some of these areas with it, make it so that it looks less, less in your face, that there's a cut there. But you just got to realize, okay, at the end of the day, this is going to look not perfect. And you either have to be okay with that or don't do it. And for those of you who watch the channel, I'm always going to go for it. And so I'm going for it. I wanted all these guys to have three-dimensional symbols. The flashes didn't turn out quite perfect, but it still looks cool. And at the end of the day, I am fine with that. People can look at it in my display. They're not even going to notice it. And that's cool. So not perfect, but it works okay. Now let's move on to the Batman. So I'm going to make this guy his current suit. His current suit, he has a blue symbol, but this one has a really great outline. And so I'm going to make it a mixture of the current suit and the suit that he had a couple of years ago, where he had a yellow outline on the bat symbol. So this is going to be kind of a more modern take, but also one that's like, okay, he's not currently wearing this one. I don't care. I like having the three-dimensional S, or the three-dimensional bat symbol. I think it's going to look cool. And I want to have this outline because it's on there. And I think that that's really cool. That's the fun thing about this hobby, is that you don't have to make them look any specific way if you don't want to. You can make them look the way that you want them to look. So don't be afraid to do that and be like, I want it to look cool. So this is going to be a Batman that, never existed exactly this way, but he exists this way now. Before we move on to the body and such, I need to paint the symbol here. Now, this might end up being too blue now that I'm looking at it. I thought it was going to be dark enough, but as you can see, the cape is already more of a purpley. So I think what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to add a little bit of red to this blue and make it a little bit darker. So let's do that, see if we can get a color. So hold on just a second. I'm gonna do some mixing here and see if we can get it darkened up. into more of a purple. All right, let's see what we got here. That's darker, but I don't know if it's purple enough. All right, we're gonna have to experiment. We'll stick with this for now, but obviously I need to match all this other stuff. And this just really made it dark and not really purpley. So give me a minute to figure this out. All right, by mixing some blue with some metallic purple, I got pretty close here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over the top with this color in all these spots, merely to get rid of the shading, the cell shading that this figure has. So I'm gonna go nice and light and just kind of quick over the top of all of this stuff. And you can see it matches pretty good. And it's gonna get rid of that cell shading. That's all I want. I want the cell shading gone. We were able to get rid of it on the Flash and on Darkseid and on Aquaman. We need to get rid of it on Batman. But what we're gonna do with Batman and Superman is that I'm gonna paint the body a light gray, and then we're gonna add some natural shading. I really like how this is shaded. I just don't like the cell nature of it, and where it looks like it's pixelated, right? That's what I don't like. So I'm gonna use this, go through all of this, and that will be what we're doing. All right, I have a lot of versions of Batman and Superman, and I've been debating on what to do with this particular version of Batman, and I've decided to do something a little bit different. So instead of using a normal gray over him, I'm going to use a gunmetal. So he is going to be metallic, which is a different look for a Batman, but I think it's going to look pretty cool. And so that's what we're going to do. By using the purple metallic paint with the blue, he's already got kind of a metallic look. So I'm going to go with something a little bit crazier, something I normally wouldn't do, but that I think is going to look very cool on this Batman. So there we go. He's going to be gunmetal. Let's see how that looks. And now the question with Superman becomes, do we want him metallic too? And I think we do. If we're going to do a gunmetal gray on Batman, we might as well make Superman metallic and just go crazy. So that's what we're going to do. I mean, these are video game characters from the 90s. They did all kinds of crazy stuff. And like I said with the Batman, I have a lot of Batman and Supermans at this point that I've customized. I might as well do something really unique with these bucks. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make them metallic. Not what I set out to do, but that's what we're gonna do. The funny thing about this is that it literally is reminding me of the 90s, and they had all like the metallic foil covers and stuff like that in the 90s on comics. They did all kinds of crazy gimmicky stuff. And so this feels completely appropriate because of the fact that these are 90s versions of the characters, like Superman with the long hair and stuff. And so this is the metallic foil version. It's the equivalent of a metallic foil comic for Batman and Superman here, so that they can be metallic and shiny, where it's like they really have no business being shiny. But they are for whatever reason, so there you go. Before we get to the details, I've got to paint the belts, and I'm going to have to do the boots on Superman here. And after that, we'll get into some nice shading on both of these guys. One thing you guys never really talked about is when I do my custom. So generally Thursday nights are kind of my custom night. It's kind of like our art night. But sometimes, like if I have a day off or something, I'll do it early in the morning. So it's actually 6 a.m. right now, which is one of the reasons why my voice is so deep. That, and I have kind of a cold. So yeah, I do them when I can, and sometimes that's in strange hours of the day. All right, the last thing we're gonna do on Batman is we are gonna add some textures with a wash. Just gonna hit all these muscles. I like the difference. I think it's gonna look pretty cool here with the metal, the gunmetal gray. We're going to darken it up. I tried to remove the bat symbol and move it up just a little bit, and I honestly could not. I tried cutting it off. I tried pulling it off. It is on there. I think it would look better if it was a little bit higher, but it's all right. So we're going to keep it there, go through and add these, and then I think Batman will be done, and then we'll do the shade on Superman, and he will be done. Superman's turn. Now, instead of doing a regular wash, I'm going to do a blue shade on him so that he doesn't have quite as dark shadows, but will have more of a blue. I think that'll look really good. The thing I'm finding about this Superman is that he's really big and buff, but he is not as cut and defined as the Batman is, which is fun. I've never had this Superman buck before. And I think it looks pretty cool because he looks much more like a tank, like just a big dude, you know, like a linebacker. And I think that's appropriate for Superman. I don't think he would be quite as cut as what they show him in the comics. I think he would just be a big dude. You know, if you've ever seen the comic Superman for All Seasons, that's kind of how Tim Sale draws him. Like just a big country kid, ate a lot of bacon. And that's what this buck kind of is, so I like it. It's different. Now, one of the last things I'm going to do on this Superman is that, as my daughter rightfully pointed out, is that he's got very red lips, this Superman. So I'm just going to tone him down with a little bit of flesh tone. That's it. Just put over a little bit, move it around, water it down, and get it so that those lips are just not as pronounced. And I got a little bit too much on, but I can... Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get through, water it down, and make it so that these lips are just less red. One last thing we're going to do with these guys is I'm going to put a gloss on their symbols. We're going to go full 90s here, man. If we're going to go with the metallic look, we're going to make it so that their symbols are shiny. And that's a little bit crazy, but for me, this is feeling like pure 1990s. And so they deserve to have shiny symbols. Like this is 1994, and they're on a hollow foil cover, and Superman's got his long hair and mullet and all that goodness. These guys deserve the 90s treatment full on. Batman and Superman in all their 90s glory. I didn't set out to make them metallic like this, but they do look pretty cool, and they do match sort of the aesthetic of the bodies and the time frame, Superman's massive hair and Batman. So there you go. They look pretty cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at each of them solo with a side-by-side here. Superman, you can see the differences. And here's Batman, same deal. These were fun. Sometimes you just go crazy, and I guess the more figures you have of a specific character, the more you're willing to do just nutso stuff like this. And I guess that's where I found myself. It's like I have plenty of McFarlane Supermans and Batmans, and so being able to do something that matches the other ones that I did with the Aquaman and the Darkseid and stuff, have them all on display together looking cool, that is pretty much as awesome as it gets. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are customizing as well, learning new things, trying just crazy stuff that sometimes turns out okay and sometimes doesn't. Like Superman's symbol isn't quite perfect, but you know, that's just how it is. So have fun. Thank you for watching, and I'll see all of you soon. Keep customizing.